All right, hello and welcome to Lands Unknown. My name is Will, and today we are going to be doing a live Q&A to celebrate getting 1,000 subscribers, and I am going to be doing some creature design and some Spec Evo on the iPad, which is to my right at the moment. Can't see if anyone's joined yet. Let's see here. Probably some sort of delay. Come on, YouTube. No. There's always going to be some sort of technical difficulties figuring out at the start. Oh, there we go. All right. Oh, we've got one person here. Excellent. Hello, Tabby does not. Not. Tabby does not. Oh. Thanks for joining me for the live Q&A. I'm going to start working on the iPad. Hello. Excellent. So we've got some folks starting to filter in. Hey, Madeline, how's it going? I was right the first time. Excellent. See, this comes from my habit in, while I'm teaching and stuff. If I don't know how to pronounce a name right the first time, I'll just keep going until I get it right. And oftentimes I got it right the first time. So. Oh, excellent. So, hey, Jake. So now we have, what I was thinking of doing in this time was kind of going over an old design that I did. This is the draft animal from the chariot video, and it's more or less what I wanted to do. However, I wasn't quite happy with the design itself, so I was going to take some more time to go in and change it. And also, of course, I started drawing. That was the first one that I did. And then since then, I feel like I've gotten a little bit better at drawing. So that's just kind of where we're at. Like, the what do I call them? Caplins? Yeah. The Caplins in that and the chariots look a lot better than the original Yale that I was kind of working on. So if anyone has any questions about Lands Unknown, about the channel, about the world building that happens in the first chapter of the Spec Atlas, which I believe should be in the description. If you haven't seen it yet, then I'm all ears. There can even be, likes and dislikes questions, I suppose. But yeah, I was hoping to kind of go through and kind of redesign the Yale and just kind of some of the stuff that I was thinking about while going through the process. Because I do want to have a sort of critter that would be domesticated as primarily a draft animal, because these are derived from sort of like a pseudo monotreme. Monotremes seem to be pretty big right now in the Spec Evo space. I couldn't have known when I started doing this last winter now that would be the case. But I think Jake and Let's Have a Booba is doing monotremes for their world. And there's also the Age of Monotremes, which is a new project that's come out. Yeah, everyone's so into monotremes right now. So when I was thinking, I'll do monotremes on Arukia as the primary kind of mammaliform or pseudo-mammals. I thought I was being, pretty clever, but apparently a lot of people were having similar ideas as to what they were into. That and dragons, of course. But so I've got my canvas set up. Usually how I like to work at the beginning is that, most of the page will be references. I've got some references. Where am I working right now? All right, let's do here. What brush do I got? Got a marker. Cool. Some references, like up here, are things that I kind of scribbled myself. Bib's probably incepted us at some point with the idea. Yeah, I don't know if it came from Bib or where it was from Monotremes, because all of his Tira life forms, probably Big Australia. Yeah. Well, I would say Big Antarctica. Hmm? What happened? Oh no. Great. The question is, though, is it going to reconnect? Well, that's unfortunate. All right. Let's try to see if it can reconnect. No. Shoot. Oh, I love technical difficulties. All right. I may have to quickly restart the stream to get the iPad connected again, unless it miraculously works. Yeah. Okay. I think I have to quickly restart the stream. Yeah. All right. I do apologize for that. I will be back momentarily. Yes. Studio. Oh, now I don't know what to do. Studio. All right. Oh, that wasn't too long. Yes, technical difficulties do suck. I'm glad though I didn't have to like recreate the stream or anything like that. Okay. Ah, wonderful. Excellent. There we go. So that's back. How am I doing? I'm excited. I'm ready to go. I've got my coffee. I prepared my references and all that for sketching and stuff. Baby tapir spotted. Yes. So for the references, what I usually decide to do is, get my own sketches and some of my own ideas for kind of what I would like the creature to look like. I grab a lot of the references of animals that I'm trying to kind of design it off of. So I've got wildebeests, I've got water buffaloes, I've got tamaraw, which is what layer am I on? Wonderful. So that guy is a tamaraw. It is a dwarf water buffalo that's found on the island of Minado in the Philippines. I've got some tapirs because the feet of the Yale that I'm drawing is going to be that I'm working on is going to be similar to a tapir because we've got the original design over here, and he's got little tapir feet, and he does have a very distinctly kind of tamaraw-esque crest horns going on. And then I'm also looking at the headgear. I think is something that I'm interested in looking at for a lot of these creatures. I think having distinctive, bone crests on their skulls, like the Civatherium wolf boys. So we've got the Civatherium up here. Then we have another. These aren't giraffids here. These are a species of ungulate from the Americas that kind of have a parallel evolution with giraffids, I believe. And they've got these very interesting horn structures on their crests. And then, what is this? Arctotherium, something like that. Don't quote me. I don't remember the name. And looking at the skull, particularly, this kind of shape that came out. And I think was it Mark Weber? There's a paleo artist who has done one of these big boys that I thought was particularly inspiring. So I grabbed that one as well. And then I've got some more of these North American ruminants. And I'm specifically looking at like this one here. I do like, how the kind of crest comes off. Like that, and then you have something further back there, and then something for the background, because the idea for this is that within the frame they will all be kind of in, I don't know, some swampy water, a seasonal watering hole. Arnisotherium, thank you, Bib. Wonderful. Also, hi. I'm glad that you're here as well. Bib Luridian on the stream. Small question. What do you think that unicorn could be a spec biogiraphid? Sorry, I'm smelling. Sure, yeah. I think there are a couple candidates. I think giraffids, because there are a bunch of interesting giraffids. I don't know if any of them had a singular horn in the center in the same way that the kind of like this ruminant did, even though it's kind of a tricorn rather than a unicorn. But yeah, I think a giraffe is a good one. Another one could be there's a group of prehistoric rodents that had horns, though those horns weren't coming from the brow ridge or their foreheads. They were instead coming from, I think, kind of midway along the snout. I don't know specifically what bone they were growing out of. Yeah, I'm going to kind of get rid of me so I can be a little more comfortable while I'm drawing. And I'm going to reorient everything um, so I can both read while I am doodling. Oh, and Bib, Jake was asking if you incepted everyone with the idea of doing monotremes. I don't know if you can take credit for that specifically, but all right, let's. Add to stage. How do I remove myself from the stage, but keep myself? You know what? We are just going to do this. Oh, there we go. Excellent. Wonderful. Excellent, Wolf Boys. Yes, we can draw together. You can draw Spinosaurus. Wonderful. Um, if you did, it was entirely accidental. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know where that, because I know Jake's doing it, and then there's the Age of Monotremes that I noticed that was new. But all right, so yeah, I think I want it. Oh. But I am very excited that the video did somewhat well. I think it went well. I got a lot more traffic than I was expecting, though that is thanks to Bib and Madeline and Artifexian for shooting a lot of folks my way. There were some corrections I needed to make in the video, which I recently figured out how to add. Yeah, I'm still getting used to actually recording myself, and I tend to be thinking more about not messing up my recordings than I'm thinking about the script that I'm reading. So that, and then of course, when I was mixing the audio, I think there was an issue where while I was recording, the audio cut out early. And it happened a couple times while I was recording. I think it was just the software I was using or the way I was going about it. And I caught the other times, but there was one time I missed, which I did realize I needed to fix, but I didn't actually get around to fixing it. It didn't end up on my checklist. All right, so we have him standing on. Let's make it bigger and let's change. Yeah, firetail. That's nice. Let's kind of block him in. And then oh, that's light. I want darker. Oh, you finished a sketchbook of 1 year. That's pretty big. Yeah, I haven't been sketching and drawing consistently for that long yet. It's probably been since May that I was really doing it, but there's a huge difference. I did a lot of sketching and drawing when I was younger, probably between high school and when I started university. Um, and then, it was something that was occasional that I was doing. But, a whole year of a sketchbook is a pretty big deal. Congratulations. Where are my values? Okay. Disk. What am I doing? All right. And glitter mask. Great. Thanks, Overman. We love those times. Yeah. Only locked in like 2021, so I had 4 years to improve. Plus, your art is still pretty good. Oh, thank you. Oh yeah, I can do that. I can show things that I'm talking about. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm doing my best, and I did make the commitment to make all of the assets for the series myself. So, besides stuff that I'm going to be bringing up from other creators in the next video, I'm going to be showing maps of work from in alphabetical order I think Artifexian, Biblaridian, Madeline James, and Jay Chokin. Um, so theirs is going to be cited, uh, you know, courtesy of them. And then whenever I do take a figure from somebody else, I'm going to be noting that in a caption. So I'm not going to reproduce people's work, and I'm also not going to like redraw it. That would be silly. Oh, that's a nice one. Great. I am working on a lower layer, so. Wait, part of the goal of this Spec project is to you. Part of the goal of the project is to use the Spec Evo to, have some fun, to create a bit of distance, create some creatures that are uncanny, to kind of separate Dove from Earth, not just in the orientation of the continents, but also in the ecologies. However, I'm not making the ecology so distinct from Earth that I can't kind of explore and talk about the things I want to talk about, using geography and environmental studies and through anthropology and stuff like that. So that's why none of these designs are going to be particularly out there. I'm not doing the speculative biology thing where I'm, making whole life forms and stuff like that. Definitely be silly. Yeah. Well, I mean, it kind of depends on what the goal of the channel is, and what you're working towards. Yeah, let's have them down there, and maybe. What layer am I on? Excellent. Always check your layers. Okay, so we don't get to see their toes, but I still need to know how the musculature works. Is your planet a seed world, perchance? It is not a seed world. Um, the idea about Dove's biota is that Dove has essentially a parallel evolution of flora and fauna as Earth does, except some animals that went extinct on Earth did not go extinct on Dove. And some of the animals that became more populous on Earth didn't become as populous on Dove. So one example of that is that mammals, or pseudomammals, Mammaliforme, just creatures that look like mammals, developed on the continent of Elearukia, um, which had been separated from the other, from like Proto-Becerra, which is the supercontinent, for quite some time, and that is where pseudomammals developed. When Ilea and Araucaria rifted apart, Ilea is where we have like placental mammals develop, and that is where people come from. And then Araucaria, monotremes, or pseudomonotremes, monotremeiforms or something like that, survived, and they are the ones that started to diversify, over, 60, 75 million years or so. On Proto-Becerra, so Lanea and Zalea, different things were happening. I imagine that's where more of the dinosaurs went down. However, there are no birds. There are no feathered dinosaurs. There were no dinosaurs that developed feathered flight on Dove. So there are different creatures that take that niche, which I'm pretty excited about, and that'll be one of the fun reveals of the next video. But for all intents and purposes, like the people on Dove, even though they developed on Dove in Ilea, are functionally indistinguishable from humans. And that is as well. That's part of the idea of making kind of the baseline somewhat equivalent to Earth, just so that it gives room to sort of discuss some of these concepts from anthropology and archaeology and geography generally that I want to talk about. Because if we start getting into more speculative biology stuff, it's not always going to intersect, right? And I think this is what Biblaridian has been sort of dealing with, because we've been talking about kind of the anthropology and state formation and those sorts of things. And the neotexts are distinct from humans. They have different wiring, they have different culture, they have a different approach to the world that makes ideas about, say, urbanism or state formation or sedentarism that humans experienced a jumping off point, but it's always going to be a zig or a zag. Meanwhile, on Dove, there will be, speculation. There's going to be leaps. There's going to be some interesting world building, though it's going to be grounded in, geography, anthropology, archaeology, and then my own background. This sounds awesome. F in the chat for birds. Oh, yours is Seed World. That's cool. I do find, I think probably the first Seed World that I encountered was Serena, which I think is an amazing project and has been really inspirational for my own stuff. There was that whole detour with like sentience and aliens and things. Sorry if that's a spoiler for anyone. But overall, yeah, I think the project was really quite interesting. And since then, there's been a decent amount of Sea Worlds popping up. I think, what is it? World of Turtles or Age of Turtles is a really neat Seed World project. I'm just trying to, on YouTube specifically, that I've been keeping track of. Yeah, I think the World of Turtles one is the big one that stands out to me at the moment. I think it's because it's like a concept artist and an animator who's like using Blender and like doing a really cool job. Yeah. Kappa. Yes. Kappa. Thank you. Kappa is the name. Yeah. All right. So if we have the sun, where do we want the sun coming from? Hmm. Hmm. That seems reasonable. All right. So, I don't know if I'm entirely happy with how I blocked out these guys, but that's going to come out in the actual sculpting of the creature. So, and I do like to think of it more so as kind of I do kind of like thinking about the way that I'm doing the art as kind of sculpting them out, just getting a feel for their um, body plan, I suppose. But yeah, that wouldn't be as useful because I am already doing that. So it's time to go to grayscale. This kind of central figure is going to have a bit more. Let's look at this tapir here. We are Dr. Frankenstein when making Spec I'm LCF. I find that's usually what I'm doing. I'm not as, you know, imaginative in the Spec Evo department as others may be. Which is fine. I think I have my own strengths. Oh. You know, this is going a bit better than I expected with the. Well, as long as I remember to stay on the brush setting. All right. So now I reach kind of where I had whiffed before and just decided to do the Tamarah's horns, which I do like. I do like the Tamarah horns. Tamarah being this little guy down here. which I did for the original design, which I think is nice. But maybe if I incorporated it with something more like that ruminant down there. And I do like the Tamara horns, but I also do like the giraffids as well. So maybe a bit of a combination, because the giraffid does have the brow horn, similar to the ruminant. And I do really like the brow horn. And where did he go? Looking at the Kaplan or Kapal, like the structure of the bony crest on its face that kind of comes from this bony beak, it is more, it's more rounded. There aren't any distinct like horns per se. It's much more of a protective and a display. And I do like how it is very rounded and soft. It's also, they're going to be domesticated to be the primary mount and become, I don't know what I'm going to call them when they're domesticated, destriers. There's going to be conlangs. So each of the conlangs is going to have their own name for these critters, but we do need a proper nomenclature or naming system for them in the meantime. Don't need that right now. And yeah, so I do like that. I do want these ones to be somewhat attractive. I mean, I went for kind of a longhorn in my sketch here, and it does come out kind of just behind the brow. And the idea is, they would point towards, whatever, hidden layer. They would point their heads toward whatever enemy that they'd be interested in fending off, and then their skull here would kind of, the crest would narrow so they can actually see what they're pointing their horns towards. Kind of in this case as well, right? Like they can see, if they bend their head forwards, what these are pointed towards. Likewise with these guys. So when I'm designing this, this kind of brow crest, I do still want there to be some way for them to perceive what they're pointing their horns against. I'm not entirely sure how water buffalo use their horns. I mean, this seems to be pretty clear to me. Just kind of point it where you want it to go. Though I'm not entirely sure if he'd be able to see what he's looking at. I know that Tamara, when they have their kind of heads down, they kind of shake their horns. But like if you wanted to point your horns at whatever's after you, you'd have to crane your neck, pretty sharply down there. And I think exposing your fleshy parts of your neck would be particularly worrisome. Oh, a Dinoceras. That's cool. Yes, impaling horns probably. I mean, they probably also use them to kind of bump their heads with one another as well, or lock and wrench each other around. They do have kind of this bony plate here that they could use for it. Yeah, so what's this one look like? I'll stick with the firetail for now. Okay, so, and then that's where I need the reference. Let's do 60 here. Okay. So if I want, maybe I have the ridge too high for the back, because it could carry forward to about here. Protect themselves, fend off rivals, and determine herd hierarchy. Yes, totally. And I'm sure they did that with their horns. And I'm just the mechanics of it are eluding me. So I'm probably gonna have some forward horns coming off the brow, or what do we got here with the Silitherium? Yeah, and then some crests coming off the back, I think would be the idea. I think that would be fun. Yeah, something more like that maybe. And then maybe the crests are Tamara adjacent. Just the basic structure for this species. Well, not species, like the whole family kind of has this similar. What's the one higher? Order? Oh no, I'm not sure if it's an order. Let me see. I guess they could be what is it, a clade or an order? I suppose. What are ungulates? That would be a Biblioreading question. Mm-hmm. Aha. Well, that was an interesting choice. All right. Yeah, great philosophy question. What are ungulates? That is. This will probably be... All right, there we go. Oh, okay. That looks better. Okay, good. Good. All right, I didn't entirely mess up. Though if the shoulder is here, then the leg should be there more. There we go. Thank you, Bib. I think Ungulata is unranked at this point, but I guess it roughly correspond to a super order. Super order. All right. So the super order for these critters includes the Yale or Centaur, which I'm working on at the moment. It also includes the Kapal or Kaplan. I think Kapal is what I was going with earlier. There's another group of animals it includes, which I'm excited for, that I'm going to wait to reveal in the actual video. No, don't do that. Maybe a little. There we go. Oh. Oh. All right. So we're kind of working through the helmet here. All right, let's do, what's 70? Is that 70? That is 70. And So, what do we got here? So this does actually have a protrusion at the side, which will be... looks kind of uncanny without the eyes. Let's speak to the time mat scenario and the historic to be continued. Most prehistoric reptiles on the planet, and they basically like sea serpents of myth. I highly agree with that decision. I think that's a good. Well, if we want some eyes, I can. There we go. Looks cannier now, I think. I always forget where I put the nostrils on these things. Okay. In the expected place. Well, he can be a very sassy Yale. Oh, and the name Yale. Centaur and Yale are both names of a Centaur is like a monster, but they're also referred to as Yales, and they actually come from. They're pretty prominent in heraldry. Now the question is, does the coat of arms of Yale have a Yale in it? I don't think it does. I think way back in the day, the administrator who got the name, what is it from? No, I think the original one had like a boar or something on it. I don't think it was. Just weird heraldry facts. There we go. That's better. Oh, I think I missed that one. Looks kind of Canadian. No. I only saw the first bit. Old Spec Evo creature at the time at. It's basically a scenario of Nothosaurus replaced with prehistoric marine reptile. Oh, I see. That makes more sense now. Yes. Well, that's pretty cool. But I totally agree with, looking at the prehistoric animals for inspiration. I think that's a good way to go. Obviously, it's what I'm doing, but if you just look at what's come before, am I doing it on the same layer? I am doing it on the same layer. That's okay. I can just draw over it later. It's fine. Now the part I have not been waiting for is figuring these out. Okay, so let's crack in here. Let's get 50%. Let's get 60%. No, 50. I was right. I was right the first time. Okay. Yeah, well, in case people are like, why are you naming it after a Ivy League university or something? It's like, well, it wasn't really the intention. Just a happy coincidence. Well, just a coincidence. Let's not say it's happy. All right, so now if it comes off here, and we say that's kind of a continuation there. How would these things look from the front is the question. All right, so you know what? I think that's acceptable at the moment, at least. All right, now the question is, where does... So this guy is the spike in the back, and that would be easy to obtain. But now we have to go to our friend Ethereum here. Okay, so what I could do is actually break this crest up. So it could come to here. Okay, let's try that. All right, so it could... could come to here with, well, maybe a little bump, and then nah, no. I do like the idea of it coming off the side there. What about this guy down here I was looking at before? It was conveniently covered by a previous drawing. Right, let's see here. See, yeah. Where's the one I don't want? There it is. All right. Well, there we go. Hello, Alberto Conde. Even without birds, are you still planning on having flighted insects? Yes, I am planning on having flighted insects. And there will be other flighted things to eat them. It's just, no birds. So there's certainly, yeah. I don't know how much time I'm going to spend on flighted insects. I haven't planned on outlining any insects at this point in time, or bugs broadly. That may be something for the future. Okay. Wild. No. Let's redo that. Okay, so let's erase this real quick. Yeah, they're going to be flighted insects because there's going to be some critters that want to eat the flighted insects. The flighted insects will be very important. All right, so let's try, and that's all in the right layer. Great. So what if That's true. Those are two different horns. Those are two different kind of styles. One is kind of going up, and then there's still this back here, which could be a horn. Okay, that's interesting. All right, let's think about this a little bit. And then we could have this one on top. And then that's because no invertebrates only evolve flight once in insects. I was unsure if you're going to change that, like flying arachnids or even weird mollusks or what have you. That is something I didn't even consider. That is an excellent idea. That is an excellent idea. See, when you said insects, I just kind of lumped spiders in there too. That is a wonderful idea. Those are the kind of great ideas that streams are for. I wouldn't have even. I don't know about mollusks. I am not too confident about mollusks. But like having a flying spider, like I don't know. I think that'd be spider flies, like butter spiders. What do they look like? That's like a spider. But most flying guys. Well, there's flies. Flies have pretty big uh, abdomens, I suppose, though not as big as this spider has here. It's kind of. So what are they doing? They're not spinning webs, are they? Maybe. Oh, right. It's on a 50% background. Why would I do that? What's a good? Let's make them a color. There we go. Again, not a bug person. I do not know. Terrifying. More than spiders can use silk for building nests. Ah. That is true. That is true. So many things to think about. Yeah. Who needs mollusks? Well, mollusks are tasty, but oh, instead of a beehive, you could have a spider hive. There we go. There we go. Wonderful spider hive. Um, and spiders also have a bunch of different venom and things like that. I'm sure that could be quite fun for them. Oh, okay. Maybe. Um, spiders can have. There, maybe a spider has a few webs in its territory, and it can fly between them. Yes, wonderful. Alberto, that is a great idea. So we will see how that happens. Let's see how that turns out. See, this is why you need two canvases. Bam. For wonderful ideas. I may get the best of both worlds with this one, with the one on the with the one on the with the right. I don't know. I haven't fully explored the one on the left yet. Oh, that's a good one. Do you still plan on carnivorans, cats, dogs, birds, weasels, seals to be the main land animal powers? No, actually. for Arukia, the main land predators are also going to be monotremes. So the monotremes kind of split off. You're going to have a, this is what the second canvas is for. Boop. Let's go to the color wheel. How's that look? And not distinct enough. There we go. How about that? Cool. So we're going to have little guy. It's kind of friend-shaped. Yeah. That's too saturated. That was a bad idea. Let's just go to the values here. There we go. That's better. Because that would be back there, right? Yeah, cool. So you have a guy who's kind of friend-shaped. I mean, that really isn't the color that I use for the... There, that's better. So you have a guy who's kind of friend-shaped. That looks pretty good for what these purposes are. And then you've got, you know, some of them. Let's turn him off. Let me turn that off for a sec. Right. Then, you know, one of the directions is the So one of the directions, we're having all of these different herbivores. There's also going to be some smaller, like ground-dwelling ones. I'm thinking there's going to be some sort of aquatic ones as well, you know, maybe filling in the niche of like whales and things like that. Where'd that go? Shouldn't have gone rid of that too quickly. Burp. Because these guys famously have trousers. So yeah, so we're going to have a branch that is herbivores. Like the Kapal and stuff like that. A bit more blue in there. Yeah, there we go. Great. So we've got these kind of guys. He's a bit of a chunky one. That's okay. And then on the other hand, we are going to have carnivorans that are going to be yeah, so what was that? Out here, down here, here. And maybe his legs aren't long enough. We'll figure that out. Let's do, yeah, same color for the head. Why not? Oh, he doesn't have eyes. There we go. Yeah, so we are going to have some carnivorans. We are also going to have some carnivorous monotremes. We're also going to have herbivorous monotremes. At least, the ones that are kind of on the ground there. His legs may be too thin here, but Pardon my attempts. Are you using an Apple Pencil stylus or wearing the skin off your fingertip? I am using an Apple Pencil. I am not using my fingertip. Yeah, so I'm totally using a stylus. Honestly, drawing these really quickly went a lot better than I had anticipated. You can get a tail. It probably needs a longer tail. And his head's probably too big. Nah, that's more reasonable. Maybe cut the difference. Yeah, I think the legs are still too short. See, this is what happens when I don't have references. Yeah, it's pretty good. But yes, on Arukia, the main predators are also descended from monotremes. They are their own super order of creatures. However, on Alea, they would be maybe more like carnivorans. I'm not sure which carnivoran. Oh, that's not true. Yeah, so there are going to be carnivorans on Alea because that is where placental mammals or placental mammal adjacent creatures develop from. But on Zalea and Lanea, the main components of Protobacera, entirely different creatures had evolved out of the previous critters that had been there. And I do know about some of the creatures that have evolved there since then, but I am not spending too much time on them. Yeah, I don't know if I could possibly do this with a fingertip. I think I would grind my fingers to the bone. Yeah, that can be dark still. And this one. Oh yeah, his longer neck. And his proportions are generally good. No, he looks a little bit too tubby, but that's okay. There we go. So that's one problem. Well, nope. Uniform. There we go. Excellent. And this guy would be much smaller, of course. Let's make him smaller. I think his proportions were fine. Boop. So yeah. Have you put any thought into reptiles or amphibians on the planet yet? No, I have not. I've been working on primarily the monotremes and uh, the non-avian suborder of flying creatures. I'm pretty happy with these two little guys. Well, maybe not some of this stuff. Got distracted. It's okay. That's what the stream's about. You know, it's just going through the process. I think this is largely what world building looks like. To be fair, let's saturate it a bit, make it a little bit lighter. How big is my blending brush? I like that, but I think it needs to be a cooler color. No, not that cool. I know I said not that cool and then I went cooler, but that is not what I meant in my head. I don't know why. There's a recent update and my iPad started doing that. It's very annoying. But yeah, I hope to get to the designing of reptile or reptile adjacent creatures at some point. I don't know. There's a lot to do, and when I'm thinking about what kind of video I want to make, and what kind of animals I'd like to design for those videos, and what I'm most excited about, the creatures I developed, kind of. Oh, that's not what I want. Oop. Creatures that I kind of got most excited about were the ones I tended to focus on. And at this point in time, that is not the mammals, sadly, but I will get to them. Sorry, reptiles. I will get to the reptiles. I'm very excited about the mammals. I am going to be doing the reptiles at some point in the future, or whatever creatures took that niche. Because again, haven't thought about it all that much. Mm. There we go. They're little cute guys. Maybe the head's still a little too big. And it's not as dark as it should be, but where's that tool? Yeah, maybe this will help. No. You know what? He's fine. We'll come back to them later. This is what I'm supposed to be working on. I have already designed the Cabal, and I'm happy with him. Okay, so one of them was having this horn come off and having this come down and then protrude out. I'm working on the wrong layer. Wonderful. And so what would this look like on the... So if I was just doing a very quick... Here. So it comes up to here, down to here. Okay. Okay, so if this broadly is what the face looks like, we are not going to be interrogating that too much. Well, I am interrogating it too much. All right, so if this is supposed to be the head broadly, that comes off from here. It kind of goes that way. And then this continues back here. And you have like the ear back there. And then, okay, the horn comes off here and points. Which way is it pointing? No, it would have to come off here. Point. So it, okay. So it's going to come along and wrap around here. I need pink again. Come on, pink. So it's going to come along here, wrap around here, and then come forward. And this one comes up the brow ridge. But it is a little bit behind the brow ridge. So if the eye is here, this comes, great, great, great. This will come off here. And then the horn, I understand all this is on the same layer. Yeah, that's unfortunate. All right, so the horn will be further back. It'll start, yeah, it'll start under that. And it will no, that looked fine. Yeah. Okay. So yes, and it will be structurally connected to up there. Okay. That's fun. And then the eye would be parallel to the bottom of the horn. So this face may need to be reworked a little bit, but that's fine. It's fine. Because what happens is, okay, and then it is up through, comes here as a wing, right? But this should be and that down there. Okay, so get a darker color. Okay. Right. Yeah, so that should be where the eye goes. Then we are going to and then that comes down here. Mm. Well, this one's face isn't really like that, is it? Okay. Okay. I think that works. I think that works. I may just need to move it around a bit. Me not talking and just sketching isn't probably the best television or radio for that matter. All right, let's carve that out to something suitable. Okay. Mm-hmm. So now, how long is the stream? Yeah, it's pretty good. And then where are the ears on these guys? Where do the ears tend to be? Lower, behind the eyes, behind the horns. Now the face, the helmet may be too long. It's starting to get. Yeah, it's starting to get there. Yep. All right. That seems to be pretty good. And I will use this because it will go down here. Whoa. This one will be eating. Brilliant. All right, so I'm going to go with the way that I was structuring the helmet on the right-hand side. So I'm going to make sure I erase all that. Now I'm going to duplicate, and through the magic of Procreate, I'm just going to flip it over. And because I was more or less drawing symmetrically all on my own, which may not be a big deal for some people, but it's a miracle for me. So we are going to go in there. Excellent. Merge down. Whoa, 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 whoa. There we go. Okay. That seems to be pretty decent. So, what did we do over the stream today? Say we had some Islands Unknown late joined the stream. I was captivated by the intro video. Fantastic. You set up that landmass at the eve of being populated. My question is by whom? Normal humans. No, it's not going to be normal humans. They're going to be people. They're going to be they're Dovians. They come from Ilea, which was the continent that rifted from Arukia and hit the western side of Proto-Bessera. I can actually there's another stream that I did for the World Building Festival where I talk about chariots, and that is much more of a lecture about chariots and how you can incorporate different ideas from archaeology and material history into world building. Sorry, I should do that. Excellent. And so the Dovians come from Alea, and they're going to be migrating to Arukia. And we can look at... So from that stream, we have some Dovians. These two are from the highlands in the central plateau, the Aravnian highlands, I believe. Yeah, the Aravnian highlands in Arukia. And these folks are from the river valley. Yes, very strong Bronze Age vibes going on. These ones are more, I guess, like Egyptian sort of coded, especially in the chariot design. So there are going to be people. The people are functionally human. They have, I guess, a similar evolutionary pathway. But the main idea for them is that they are going to be legally distinct humans, so that we can talk about different concepts in anthropology, archaeology, geography, and talk about state formation and societies and stuff like that with a reasonable degree of, a reasonable degree of inspiration from the evidence that we have. As I used an example before, something where you're actually doing like speculative biology and creating an entirely different kind of sentient species, you can use inspiration from humans, like how humans developed agriculture and urbanism and those sorts of things. But you're always going to have to take that kind of leap into the other biology and the kind of societies that they would develop. My example of this, and I worked with Bill Iridian on the World Building Festival, talking about state formation and urbanism and kind of how it could work out with the neotechs. And Bib has a video about sedentarism without agriculture, which builds on those ideas. And I'm really excited to see where the neotechs go. You're imagining that little desert at the top of the river valley. I was thinking, wow, I'd love to be a step nomad there raiding into the river valley. Yes, there will certainly be raiders. The Aravnians do a lot of raiding. And, they are raiding out of... Where we got? Always watch your layers. They'll be raiding out of here into the river valley. They'll largely be raiding out of the river valley out of here. There are some very long rivers that go through here, and so there is a decent amount of sedentary societies in that desert that we'll watch develop. In up here, though, that's where more of the cold steppe environment is, and there'll certainly be people on the periphery in these areas, which will also be engaging in pastoralism and raiding and those sorts of things. And we'll see how those develop. And occasionally, yeah. Yes, for my own geographical work, I focus a lot on Central Asia. I look at Kazakhstan, Afghanistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, as well as looking into um, the central parts of Siberia and into Tibet. So that, and I also look at the Caucasus. So this area is very much inspired by my interests in Central Asia and the Caucasus for sure. And this is, the whole idea, and this is something I'll be talking about in the next video, which will be coming out by the end of the month. I'm not sure if it's going to be the last Friday in December or if it's going to be the last Friday or the first Friday of January. Of course, people who subscribe and become a member of the Patreon or the Ko-fi at a certain level can see it early. And I'm also going to be posting updates about where I'm at with the video, which Patreon and Ko-fi members, I believe at the lowest level, can also view. But something I'll be talking about in the next video is what I was looking for when I was creating it. So I did want like this Himalayan plateau at the top here. That was something that I really wanted to be right on the equator, and I managed to make that happen. I also wanted an interior plateau, and the reason why I wanted the plateau is because I wanted to have a distinction between the AS regions that we have here, and then I wanted a sort of central CSB region where we could have, complex river valleys and uplands and plateaus and meadows, this kind of alpine distinction in climate, which I thought was really interesting. And I did want to have a desert in the interior of Uruktia. So having, these two orogenies, the Iranian plateau has been activated and reactivated throughout, the last 60 million years or 70 million years as it's been put together. But yeah, sort of trapping it in here where it's arid because of the rain shadows that are created from both sides, because we've got, winds coming from that way. And then when ITCZ moves north, we've got the rain shadows here, though, precipitation gets in here, it just kind of ceases to make much of a difference beyond a certain point. Yeah, in the next video, which again should be out end of December, beginning of January, sort of a Christmas, New Year's drop, will be focused more on that. Yeah, there we go. Patrick, did you have any other questions before I start to wrap the stream up? So I've been going at it for about 2 hours now. And while folks consider any last minute questions, what do we do? I made a reference board here, got the background, and made the design of the Yale, the new design, because we had the older design of the Yale or the Yale here, which I wasn't too happy with. It was also the first one I did, so I have somewhat improved over the past few months. Talked about potential flyers and things. Flying arachnids was an idea that was dropped by Alberto. we had some love for the Civitherium and the Giraffids and stuff like that in there. Jake spotted the baby tapir, which I didn't get to talk about too much, but I do want the patterns for the domesticated cabals, the mounts down here. Oh, does that what's going on there? You know, the mounts down here, as well as the domesticated Yales, to have like kind of that tapir look to them. Where does the name Yale come from? Yale or centaur is the name for an animal with heraldry. So it's referred to a specific animal in heraldry that is kind of like a bovid that has tusks and horns. Is there a way for fans to access the content, like a Discord or something? I've got the bell activated on YouTube, so if not, it's all good. Currently, I don't have a Discord. At the moment, I'm instructing at a university. I have my own research that I do. So I've got, you know, a full-time job as it is, and just kind of managing a Discord is kind of difficult at the moment. The Patreon and the Ko-fi, as well as the YouTube would be the ways to kind of keep up. I do have updates on the Patreon and the Ko-fi that are public. So, for example, the reminder for the stream was public. I'm also going to have reminders when new videos are going to drop. So that would be a way to check it out. Besides the YouTube, I'm also going to be posting monthly updates about where I'm at with the videos, and also some of the behind the scenes for the videos that for the world that may not make it necessarily into the video. That'll be in the description. Yeah, links to all that stuff will be in the description. I may add a Discord at some point. It's just at this point in time, I'm working on building it up. So maybe there'll be a Discord at some point that people get a link if they join some level of the Patreon or the Ko-fi or anything like that. Any chance you'll be adding a Conland stream lineup? Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday are free. Once I get to the Dovies actually arriving in Arukia, then I will start doing the Conlang stream things. And by that point, I will have had a good idea of how I want the two Dovian languages to kind of develop that I have plans for. So it'll be much more interesting rather than me just kind of riffing and inventing it on the spot, because there's a lot of I do a lot of iteration and repetition and kind of recursion when I'm doing conlanging, and I don't know how interesting that would be to watch. As opposed to, well, you saw me kind of go through that with this. Conlanging streams will definitely be later. Let's leave the iPad for now. All right. Oh no. All right, I am back. Oh. All right, so thank you to everyone who joined me on the stream. It was awesome getting to 1,000 subscribers. A lot of those subscribers came prior to releasing my first proper video, thanks to the World Building Festival, and shout outs from Artifexian, Biblaridian, and Madeline James. Really excited to see where the channel goes. Yes, it has been great to hang out. I did, as I mentioned, get the Ko-fi and the Patreon up. So, if you want to support me making more of the videos and dedicating more of my time to making them, because right now it's, kind of an evenings and weekends thing. then dropping some support there on the Ko-fi. There's one-time donations that can be made in addition to the monthly memberships. And the things in the pipeline right now, there is the footnotes video, which is going to be coming out at the end of December, beginning of January. And that is going to be looking at the rationale behind making Dove, the kind of steps and the process I took to get there. It's also going to talk about world building and Ice Age, and talking about, what do you have to consider when designing a glacial period. The video after that will be the next chapter, and that should be out at the end of January. And we'll be looking at the ecoregion and ecosystems that exist within the dry summer, wet winter climates of Arukia. So again, thank you so much for everyone who decided to swing by and hang out. I will be planning on doing some more regular streams. I may stick to Sundays from 10 a.m. to 12:30, depending on how that works to people for people. Yeah, because I did manage to get the streaming all set up. So all right, one last goodbye. So thank you again for everyone for coming. I really appreciate the support. It has been pretty long in the making, and everyone in the comments and stuff has been wonderful. So yes, bye Jake. Hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day. End stream.